In this lesson, we're going to be talking about wavetable synthesis. What is a wavetable, the history of it, and how it's made its way into present production. All right, so to start with the history, to give a nice background on wavetable synthesis, it all started with a guy named Max Matthews, who in 1958 invented the idea of wavetable synthesis using the music to digital computer software. Music software was the first type of digital computer software that could generate analog waveforms from a digital computer and actually play them through speakers. Now, this was really revolutionary because before this, computers were never used to generate music. It was all done in analog means, but now we had computer software which you could actually create music. And using this, they developed the wavetable. So now you may ask, what is a wavetable? A wavetable is basically a table full of different single cycle waveforms. And these single cycle waveforms can be very different from one another. One can be a square wave, one can be a sine wave, one can be a very complex waveform that can be something really random that we might not even think about as a normal waveform. And we can actually use this table of waves to cycle through them and to modulate the sound and to create different timbre changes. This really allows us to create a whole wide variety of sounds, and in one synthesizer store so many different types of waves rather than subtractive synths before this, which just had square, triangle, sawtooth, maybe reverse saw, sometimes a sine wave, but this can have a whole array of waves. So the first person to take Max Matthews' ideas and theories about this type of synthesis, wavetables, and actually bring it into a commercially viable product was a man named Wolfgang Palm, who owned Palm Products and developed the first commercially viable wavetable synthesizer called the PPG Wave. So right here is Mr. Wolfgang, and he is essentially the father of wavetable synthesis. He took the theory and created the actual first viable wavetable synthesizer, something that musicians could use and has been found in so many songs and compositions throughout time. So the first product that Wolfgang was able to make commercially viable was the PPG Wave. Now this was an iteration of his first design that he developed in the 70s, but in the late 1970s and 1980s, this line of the PPG Wave synthesizers came out. The thing that was really special about these synthesizers was they had a full analog path after the digital wavetable. So you have a digital wavetable oscillator with many different types of waves. Specifically, the PPG Wave had 30 wave tables with 64 waves in each. As you can imagine, this allowed for a wide range of sonic capabilities, and people who actually had the synthesizer had really a leg up over people who only had analog means, because this really could go far and above beyond in the timbre changes and the different stuff that you could create than classic synthesizers at the time. So to give a little background on the mathematics of a single cycle waveform so you can understand what a wavetable is really doing, let's take a look at the diagram. So right here, we see a single cycle waveform. As you can see, it starts at 0 and ends at 0. This is one cycle of the wave. What we call this is one period. All right, so if you want more information on single cycle waveforms and kind of understanding the mathematics behind this, feel free to check out my other course at soundcollective.com on advanced FM and wavetable synthesis. This really goes into more of the nitty-gritty of the mathematics and the theory behind some of these more abstract ideas. So you may ask, what really makes these wavetables special other than being able to store all these waves in the table? The whole idea is you would modulate through the wavetable as the sound is playing. So you'd be actually continually changing the waveform that is being played over time. So to actually achieve the smooth transitions between the waves, they employed a technique called wave morphing, which is essentially using the mathematical theory of digital interpolation to actually transition between these waves in a smooth fashion. Now, the wave change and this wave morphing can be modulated over time by some kind of feature in the synthesizer, whether it be an LFO, whether it be the mod wheel, whether it be aftertouch, something that can actually change the timbre of the sound over time by shifting through the wavetable and getting all this different kind of crazy sonic capabilities. All right, so now that we went over the history and the basics of wavetable synthesis, let's look at a plugin that can allow us to visualize this and understand a little bit better as to how wavetables make the unique sounds they do.